Fight and Pride here with Eddie Hearn himself. How you doing, Eddie?
Doing fantastic, thank you. Thanks for being here today, and looking forward to a big night at the Copper Box, July 6th.
It's going to be amazing. I would just, as a fighting fan, I just wanted to thank you for having us here at your beautiful home that you grew up in. It's an honor to be here and to see like my first press conference with these guys here. It's been a fiery one, and you know they've both given it, and that's what I'd like to see. The fight's going to look, I think it's going to be toe to toe going forward. But what do you think will be the key in the victory for Johnny?
I think size and power. You know, if you're going to stand toe to toe with Johnny Fisher, you better have a granite chin. And you know, Johnny's got a lot of attributes that people don't necessarily acknowledge. You know, because he's a massive ticket seller, people think that he's a ticket. You know, they don't talk about his jab, they don't talk about his chin, they don't talk about his movement, the improvements that he's made. And I think he should be talked about as a real heavyweight prospect. But it is a big step up. You know, with Alan Babbage, you know, you've got a guy, he's not going to take a step back. He does have a good chin. He has a tremendous work rate. He has great output. He throws a lot of punches. But he's going to take shots off Johnny Fisher. And I think if he does that, he'll get overrun by the size and the power and the speed of Johnny Fisher.
Going like into the fight, like as a fan, you know, you see a guy who's 33, in the prime of his career, had over 100 amateur fights. And Johnny Fisher, who has a mild amateur career, I think they were saying he was close to zero, right? Yeah. So with that, you know, preparation, he says that he's just focused. He's saying the right things. He said he's going to focus on this fight alone. He's not looking past him, which is brilliant because a lot of fighters do talk about the next step. And I interviewed him as well, and he wasn't looking past it. So he's genuine on that. But with all of that behind him, do you think, you know, being 25 in the heavyweight division, just like Dubois, he's a baby.
Yeah.
Do you think, because you know...
He's never been to the trenches.
Yes.
Yeah. And Alan made it quite clear he's going to take him there. The only way I see Alan winning this fight is wearing him down. You know what I mean? And actually pushing him on the back foot, breaking his will and making him quit. If he even has that in him. And I don't think he even has that in him. But we won't know until he goes there. But he's got to take him there. And to take him there, he's got to take all Johnny's shots. He's got to come through his own war to get there, and that's going to be very difficult for him to do.
Okay, awesome. And in seeing him and how he's you know he's got charisma behind him, and I've noticed a lot in boxing. There's not many characters that have been so wild in selling tickets, especially early on at 25. It's amazing to see that. Do you feel like going forward, as long as he does the right things, as he says the right things, and I can feel it, he's got passion for the game. Do you feel like he can fill the boots of AJ once AJ?
That's a tough boots to fill because AJ's a phenomenon. We've never seen anything like AJ before in boxing in this country. But what we do know is we're going to have 7,000 at the Copper Box for him against Alan Babbage. So once he starts fighting the Waldleys and the Clarks, you know he's going to sell out the O2. So if it all comes down to ability. I know that he's good enough to win British titles, but how he develops over that period will show if he can go on and box at world level.
Yeah, of course. And just moving on to, you know, going back to the 5v5, I just want to say hats off to a great event. You know, it was amazing to watch. I was watching it at home, and, you know, the Ford ball fight, I'll have to see that again. Yeah. Do you think that will happen again?
No, because, you know, Ray's going to move up to 130, so I thought he edged the fight, but it was a fight that could have gone either way, you know, and the whole matchups were incredible. Although we lost 10-0, you know, the response to the show has been amazing, and, you know, it was a night we absolutely loved.
Yeah, and just going forward in terms of Hrgović, where do you think he goes from here? I know Berish was saying that he would like to fight him. That would be his dream matchup. Do you think that's something like if he...
possibly. I mean, you know, I think if Babic was to win this fight, him against Hrgović is a massive fight in Croatia. We've looked at that fight before, but, you know, it was a tough loss for him. I didn't think physically he looked great, you know, looked himself.
Yeah.
You know,
he looked good for the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, but even the punches were, I mean, you can't... Dubois took them well, and you know that's what I'm saying. If that was AJ, it would be very different. You know, you can't take clean shots like that off a heavyweight, and you know he just physically didn't look at the races. But fair play to Dubois, he was great.
And stylistically, every fight is their own fight at the end of the day when you push comes to shove. But looking at Dubois and AJ, I do feel like they're a good match, a very good matchup in terms of how they fight.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're both strong, both punch very hard, both got good jabs, both British. You know, and if the world heavyweight title's on the line, that's definitely a fight that could happen.
Okay, and it's one for he's a former Matchroom employee. Parker, I'm a big fan of him. One of the first fights I seen live was Chisora versus Parker. I'd love to see him versus AJ
Yeah,
again.
it could happen. He's definitely in the hat
Yeah.
for September, so we'll see.
Okay, and moving forward, I hope the rematch happens and you get the win next time. Do you think you could ever see yourself going head to head with Golden Boy?
Yeah, I've asked them to do that before, but they don't really want to work together. He talks a good game, but he's got a little bit of an issue with me, and it's one he'll have to get over.
And about 3 hours ago, there was a report that Canelo Alvarez turned down a lucrative fight in Saudi to fight Crawford. Do you think that fight will ever happen?
Yeah, I think it's down to His Excellency, and if he can make that fight happen. I know that Saul will fight anyone if the money's right, so we'll see.
Okay, and going forward, I've personally, as a fan, I always looked at Queensberry as being the leading one for the young fighters. And before the fight, before the night happened, the 5 versus 5, I looked into the history, with your father and then yourself, and I was really shunned by the amount of grassroots you guys have done. I've looked at the pay-per-view records you've broken and all that, and I've even looked at the fighters. You're very committed to sticking to your fighters. I remember Case Ashfaq. He had a bad run, and you guys stuck by him. And you had Akib Fiaz recently, who had a loss as well. And you guys really stick behind your fighters, and I really think people don't realise that.
I think if a fighter steps up into a risky fight, you've got to give him the security to go again. You can't just say, take this fight, and if you lose, fuck off. It's like, look, we'll back you, but if you're willing to take the risk, fighters shouldn't be afraid to take the risk, and we always support them.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And one other thing I wanted to ask, John Fury, he's resurfaced and apparently he's been sacked. Is there a position for him at Matchroom?
Oh, no. We'll have to say, I think John's good for boxing, but we wish him all the best.
Thank you, Eddie. I really appreciate that. Thank you.